allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Thank you and welcome to the March Lower South Township Communication Committee meeting. We're going to start with our first order of business, which is to approve the minutes from the February 18th, 2025 meeting. So I still turn them up. Thank you very much. Great to see you. I was going to say they look very similar to the events. There you go.
Nice enough to say.
Does anybody have any comments or questions?
I found the typos. It's 2026, not 2025 for the next.
Very good. Next meeting will be scheduled 2026. Very good.
And then also at the top, they should be February 2026, correct?
Yes, let's say 2026.
I'm going to do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
We understand.
So the meeting is Thursday, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. I usually get 11 over, but that's again. Anybody else have any other corrections or additions? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes with the corrected 2026?
So moved. I'll second the motion.
Second, Harry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is to call for a public discussion and visitor comments. Again, to open this up to anybody who might be online, anybody in person, as well as any members of the committee for any kind of public comment or discussion they'd like to have. I would like to say welcome to Stacey, who officially is now an associate member. We're really glad to have you board here. Again, the more minds and ideas we have, township and anybody can. So really look forward to you. Thank you for your willingness to volunteer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Any other comments? Moving on, I will turn it over to Grace. It's good to see you again. And would you please update us on any of the recurring report items?
Sure. I will start off by saying that it will likely be brief. I guess once again, the next Friday's Fall Market will be May 3rd. We'll have the presence as the township table and the pack for the Olive property, which I believe is called the Citizens for Lower Southford. They may also have a booth, of course, separate from ours, so that they can do promoting on their behalf, while we'll just stay as a informational table. Newsletters and email updates. Not too much to report. Still waiting to receive a rough draft from Hometown Press to send out our annual newsletter. Hopefully that will be coming around soon. The survey's in there, voting information is in there. So it's packed per usual, but because we're getting it out a little bit earlier, it does lack some of our fun like springtime events, such as like the fish stocking, and a few of our newer projects that Public Works will get in the spring. So that can be included in our fall winter. For our website.
Can I ask a question on that real quick? So Hometown Press has it. You're just waiting for like the markup copy where you would be able to add. Not that I have anything.
So
Okay.
add and improve if you find something comes up. It might just want to add something here, you might need to take away somewhere else because they've already found the added space or it has to fill those pages. So
That was my follow-up question. Yeah.
For the website, I believe in April there is a new federal law going into place for ADA compliance for local governments. There's some like pretty not so strict standards, but just getting all the websites up to speed with text to speech and accessibility and the ability to change text size. But that is only for local governments over 50,000. So that gives us until April of next year to get our website up to speed. So just as something to know, it was a good reminder that we had today. We're actually interviewing for my position. Holly's retiring, and I'm gonna move into her position. So eventually, you guys will have a new liaison here. I'll train that person. But few of our interviewees were like, "Oh, it's a fancy website. Did you know you need to be ADA compliant by this time next year?" A reminder. So that's something we'll probably be looking into doing pretty soon.
Grace, if I can ask, overall, top of my head, the name of the website, but I know that the website we've done as a committee, some of us were on here back to the batch, we researched all the different websites to serve towns, boroughs. I'm not assuming, I won't assume, but I'm guessing, hoping that the website probably has, if they have to update yours, it's not the only one they would have to update. So they might have things thought, you know, they have anything, things set up that they could switch or just let us see in a preview where we might be able to see any other website. Is there any way or anything the committee or help with that or anything? Is that just something that would be, I would imagine that is something that the website just say, here we go, be upgraded, you know, X borough, X township, here's yours right here.
Yeah, I think it will be something that they roll out all at once.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's familiar with ADA accessibility on websites, but no. Yeah, in the lower right hand corner is a little guide that looks like this. Like, I think you click that button and it gives you the ability to make all sorts of changes. Rob, if you know any more about that, it was just, I was reminded today, so.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I did not know about that property.
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant factor in federal government websites, so nothing that actually even makes it out the door without having all that accessibility in that, at least on the federal level, stuff like every PDF that you release has to be OCR and screen readable too, so you can't just scan a PDF as an image and be like, well, this is enough. It actually has to be something that somebody can pull up on their screen reader and do. So it's not just limited to the website at that level. Again, this is the first I've heard of the local municipality stuff being affected by it. But at the end of the day, it's great because disability is a spectrum, and what you find is the things that you do for people who can't see are good for the people that have difficulty seeing, right? And it helps everybody regardless of whether it's not like a black and white issue. Like any improvement that you make is going to make things more accessible for everybody. So I love it. That's just great.
It's great to do.
There's a website update, development and open space awareness, citizens for Lower Southford, so not so much a township update. They open Facebook page, I believe. Not so sure that they've gotten anything up on there yet.
I have information on that. Actually, there's about that today. It's
Awesome.
so I can put that in. I figured in the new business as well, but
Perfect. General resident feedback themes. I would say that we haven't received feedback related to communications and 2 months ago. So it's also now on my influence, so that's a good thing.
thank you.
Sorry for the short update today.
No, that's is there any questions? Anybody wants to?
I have 2 things, and one's more a question. So, I went to the PICO site because I know in like Baltimore County, all the streetlights were BGE, but around here, a lot of it belongs to either the township or a local thing. And I noticed one, I don't even remember what it was. And I went to the service portal and I went to PICO first. PICO said, every township is going to have a different way of dealing with this, and then the township is going to speak to us if it turns out to be our light. But when I went on the service board, I didn't see anything for streetlights. So that kind of like stopped me where I was, because I was like, I have no idea, like there's no drop down option. I didn't really want to make a phone call at the time, like I would do it online. Maybe to start the discussion, like help me understand how that works around here and how that's communicated to folks.
On the Pico website or the resident request?
Just
form?
how, like, somebody's driving down the street and they see a street light out,
Yeah,
and they wanna be helpful, and they wanna say, hey, this is out here. And Pico basically says, talk to your township. And, but what do people do when you get frequent calls? Is that a thing that happens?
I would say that. As much as we don't promote the resident request portal for no reason, just for the fact that it's not, I guess, at the, it's on the front page of our website. We put it in all of our newsletters, but we're not constantly saying, use this. A lot of people do use it. So if there's a light out, if there's a tree down, that's how we get a lot of our requests in right now, and it's checked very regularly. So if it's a streetlight issue, that gets sent right to from Public Works. If it's a building and zoning issue, then it gets sent straight to the director of building.
So you do get streetlight requests.
Yeah.
I just didn't see the drop down, maybe that's my error, or maybe it's not there.
If it's not there, people may use a miscellaneous option, that's always possible, but.
Is that something we're thinking about adding to perhaps as well?
I will mention that the resident request portal is down currently. Tracer, who is the platform behind it all, they're working to redo some things on their end, so it's not, doesn't exist currently. If you click on it, it will say, sorry, we're under construction.
Do we know for how long exactly?
I assume it won't be much longer.
Only because whatever the next time we send out the email updates, maybe you wanna put it in there in case people are trying to use it and then get frustrated that, oh, can't use it.
Right.
That's a good point, or even just after the fact, say resident web portal is back, so if anybody did try to use it, they won't, be like, well, I'm not gonna try to use it again, it didn't work.
Right.
That's great to hear that people are using it. I think, is every Stacy, are you familiar with the resident web portal?
I know that we have one, I've never used it, but
But
yeah.
it's something that we conceived with the communication committee, really a few years back now. And we were looking at other townships and prices on things, and we spoke with similar townships, population, fiscal size, and we found after speaking and talking with staff then as well, we realized that we had Taser, as Trace mentioned, and we're working with them. The bottom line is what it is math. That let's say you see a pile, you can open up your phone, you can put it down, say there's a pothole, and as Grace described, we set channels up that go to the correct people as well as the township manager and staff, so everybody will be able to take care of any kind of residence addresses. And as Rob pointed out earlier, not everybody, myself too, sometimes run around and whatnot, might not have time for a phone call, but moving quickly with work is. It has everything from, I believe the first one here, we realized a lot more things than we didn't think of, or other things, like a lot of miscellaneous things would pop up at first, so we're able to add that, but it's just another way that we can help bridge that gap there.
Right.
Any other questions, or?
The other thing was, code 360, which just a kind of a compliment that I put in. My email address on there to say if there's any updates to the town code, send me a link. In last month, I got, I guess, all of the bills like populated into the E-code 360, and then I got an email saying, look, this is all the different parts of the Lower Southford code that have changed. I thought that was really neat. I don't know if it means anything to anybody, but like they did, it's a good system. It got that information to me, and I was able to walk through and be like, oh, I remember this. So anyway, just props for that one.
It's great. And the code 360 for anybody else is literally the township code, all the ordinance and all, it's a way to view it visually online. Very good. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much for that. And we do go to our whole business, which is our residence survey. Last time we discussed the survey, and we hear anything about it yet, but that's okay. Any updates on that, Grace?
Not much to report, just that I made it into the newsletter, via a QR code and a short description. So that will hit the streets within the next week or so. So no update there just because it's ending coming out.
But and we do have meetings, I guess, and to use a survey among peers.
Yeah, I just ended up using Google Survey, so it's a free platform and something I'm really familiar with. And if at any time we need to change something within the survey, we can go ahead and do that, and it's not going to alter how the QR code functions or how the link functions. So it's live at all times for us and for users.
Excellent.
The link goes to, the QR code goes to the Lower Southford page or goes to the
Goes
survey?
to the survey.
Okay,
And yeah, so at any time if we need to change the survey, it won't change the function of the QR code.
And is the full survey in the newsletter, the actual questions, or just the QR code?
Just the QR code, because we struggled with space. So
And is there other places we can cross communicate that we can just brainstorming, can we get it up on road signs? That it doesn't have to be at the whole time, but at some point, get it up on road signs, please complete your survey, or is there someplace else we can get the QR code out? Again, making use of the other communication channels we have to drive traffic to the survey.
we can definitely print some out, get them at the office here. We can bring those printed versions and the ability to fill it out online to the Harleysville Market, where we know we meet a lot of people. And we can either do it sooner, or we can wait until the physical newsletters hit the street for us to send it out via every other platform that we have. So really up to you guys.
When's the newsletters supposed to drop?
Hopefully early May.
That makes sense. Maybe a little bit before, a little bit after, but centered around when that drops.
the park boards get refreshed in the spring too.
That's
The kiosks.
yeah, you are down here, kiosk online, that's gonna do the same thing. Yes, very good.
That's definitely a big undertaking right now, because there's a lot that the park board has in mind for those things. But there certainly can be room for our survey as well.
Yeah, you can just take down your survey, your QR code, and Rob, I'm glad you brought that up. John as well, same thing, I was gonna say, when we're wrapping this up, how best to distribute it, and I want to kind of brainstorm things like that, and ideas. As you were talking about the kiosk online, I think social media, as Grace was saying, would be good, we encourage you to share. One thing I wasn't thinking, you mentioned, I think the market really be a good way to be there, just from my experience there, if anybody else can speak, a lot of people were eager to say, sure, sign me up, just with that one display you have with all the QR codes, people are eager to try them out and see QR codes. And on the visor, really do with all QR codes, but at the township, it is okay, at our township, you got
Probably is there next to the QR.
yes, make sure we are there, it says there, but yeah, I think that's okay, and a lot of people just walk by, oh, QR, scan all the time, so it's great.
And if I remember correctly, we were getting something along the lines of within a couple of a dozen signups every time the booth was out. So
Yeah.
that's impressive by itself.
It's probably double amount of people who scan it, and it's, very good to have that many people follow through, so it's great.
Can we also have a link with the email updates linking to the survey, only because not everybody's comfortable with QR codes, so I'm just thinking of, I don't wanna put anybody down, but just so it'll be easier for them to access it.
And in addition to that, great points, Barry, I don't mind, maybe it's come out too, but I think it'll be important to make sure we have physical, because we're gonna have physical copies here.
Yeah.
While we're there, we have a physical one that people could fill out on the spot,
Great.
and I think that's a great point. Any other ideas, comments on this?
No, I noticed the other two QR codes that are in rotation on the board there behind the desk. I thought that was very neat. People do wander in here have to sit and wait in line maybe sometimes, so. I don't know what that is.
John, I like the idea on science too, even this for a couple of days, get a lot of eyes on it. The one thing we can't control is who in the township gets it and does it, but I think when we were originally discussing it, we realized that would be much of an issue, so I think it would be worthwhile to do.
I'll see if it's possible, sure.
Anything else on my residential survey, just to replan to a couple of things that were down before again, is how long we're gonna keep it active, is any kind of, now that you know the timing's put it back a little bit. I have no prerogative on it, except I would love to see the results of do something on it, so I don't want to keep it too long, but we do want to encourage people. We do have to consider that it might be closer to over the summer, which could be harder to get everybody as well, that's the, so, any suggestions or anything? June?
Can we do multiple like touch points to the survey too, so like kind of get a look at the end of June, see how we're doing, and then again at the end of August or end of September.
Okay, but yeah, you can keep it going, you're saying, just check in on our meetings.
Mhm.
That's great.
I'm grateful that was individual items that come in, if you choose to, so, yeah. Great, see where the numbers are going.
Yeah, the only thing to watch is, it's, you get a little bit better response if you tell people that
Yeah, you have to.
it closes at the end of June or the end of July, they fill this out by end of July, even if you keep checking for the stragglers,
Right,
later, I think you're better off having some kind of target date or to encourage people to do it.
And we can do that, have the target date and then say, oh, we're extending it, like when the target date's approaching.
And
So.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's standard, but you just keep looking for the stragglers. But at least publish a target.
Right, and then easily extend it.
So if we have a target date, we should probably want to have an idea at the end of the newsletter when that's ready, that that's possible still. And I like these ideas, you could also just tease people, say better do the survey before it runs out, never say. People may, oh, better hurry, okay. But just other tactics that I want to do. Anybody have an idea for the date, or do we feel like we need one to get on there? I feel like at the same time, you could have it. Well, maybe we should have it on there so people know,
Yeah.
they're not gonna click it, but I'm saying if we had it on the survey itself. Expires or ends this date,
Right.
that kind of doesn't work. So,
I'd say like instead before the end of June, since the newsletter's going out in May, give them.
It takes 6 weeks.
It's just that May and June are very busy months, so that's, I can see people forgetting about it, But
is everybody okay with that? Is Stacy's idea too, of letting it be extended? And John makes a good point, I'm okay with the combination, if that's all right, everybody seems to be. Yeah, and so literally the end of June, March and April.
I'm good with the end of June.
Perfect.
So I should add that, to the newsletter, once I receive the first draft, I can make a little edit.
If you're able to do that, would be awesome. Very good.
So are we saying the end of June or like the end of June, like June 30? We're gonna give a specific date?
June 30th.
I was, yeah, I think that's why I thought, I mean, if we write flip on June 30th, it's probably better. Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the resident survey? We move along pretty well with that, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes there as well. Moving on to new business, we already spoke a little bit about the citizens from Lower South. Did reach out, there hasn't been a meeting last time, but I did reach out to Stan Man and we're here. He did have some information to share, asked him if he had anything to share with the our board, explain and explain that it was it's without shared voice, so we'll chat this right. But yeah, I told him that we were willing to help out in any way we can, that's how things are going, and if there's anything we can do to help with anything he wants to relay. So he sent me those pictures there, and as the artwork for signs and t-shirts that were ordered. There will be a meeting for distribution soon, as soon as they arrive. There will be a Facebook page is set up, and you put more info on it, so that's what just happened. On that note, he does want to see if anyone and multiples are willing to take on generating content for Facebook or anything else as well. Also, if anyone on this board or this committee is willing or wants to run a sign-up meetings for election day, make sure we can get volunteer coverage at the polls. Right now, they're the two needs that group is specifically looking for. And as I said, it's kind of like an unofficial thing there. But if anybody here is involved in that or has any comments on the signs, well, I can give back that feedback.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate John's point from last meeting.
Yes, as I was thinking of reading the same thing, so I had it pulled out here.
Just want to make sure that we're all on that page, that this committee specifically is for, just under helping to provide information so that people can make an educated decision about what's a yes or a no. So I want to be very careful about how, as we sit behind this table, we interface and push forward some of these particular things here.
That's a great point, as I'm thinking, oh yes, the unbiased, but now as I see this vote, yes, that, which is that, not us, that is, and we're allowed to say our personal ideas, which are, we don't bring up the others, which are very, which I like as well, is more. It makes us more grounded on, I think, on that fact, but that is the up-to-date information, I guess, for that committee, that anybody does, Grace, please.
Yeah, I will say that we are just, as a committee, we wouldn't be, or you guys maybe wouldn't be able to recommend to me that on the township Instagram or Facebook, that we say vote yes. However, as individuals, you are all welcome to take part in this political action committee, and promote it in whichever ways that you would like. I wouldn't necessarily sign it communications committee, or I wouldn't sign it Lower Southwood Township, but you're all welcome to have part in that in whatever ways you'd like.
And I think, and thank you for pointing that out, I'd like to go off that and also say too, from that standpoint, there are things that we can do just to educate people, which is exactly another point I was gonna bring up with, what is the, who are we working with against Project, Greens?
Natural Lands Trust.
Natural Lands Trust, I said, yeah, I know. Natural Lands Trust is, who the township is working. So this is the information I want to give out regarding that. These are the up-to-date things that are happening. Again, and you know, as I handed out to you, so as well. But I did look at them, and that's something that, you know, that committee is particularly pushing that, that's the vote that they want to do. However, the township is actively, you're not specifically working with that back at all. Townships behalf, correct?
No.
Yeah, but they're not going to, cannot. However, our goal, I think, is to figure out any way that we can educate people on that as well. That's something that I know we talked about around the past. There's no official updates with that, but we can have an open discussion on that. Right now, I didn't want to be too redundant. I think we've already touched, but that is, I think, our points there.
Yeah, I think if there's a directed outreach and there are people participating in these meetings, that information flow through to us to say, this is how people are feeling, this is when people come in and join those meetings, these are the things that they're saying. That's a valuable piece of information that we can work with and you know, maybe people are coming in and saying, what does this matter to me? I'm an independent voter. And you know, that knowledge that people are coming in and saying that, we said it at the last meeting.
Yeah,
it's like fine, that people are actually saying that to a PAC or saying that in discussion with other neighbors, then you say, okay, well now we know that there's a point we need to push on a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And that is something that we can do, is to reach out to the independent voters.
We talked about that last meeting.
Right.
The general get out the vote approach. Right? Is there any communication plan, thoughts, let's say formal plan, but is there any communication thoughts within the township in terms of just promoting get out the vote? Again, if you look at our different channels, is there something about just voting in May in the newsletters? There's something that we can do on the road signs, you know, in terms of just voting. Forget that this is even on the ballot. Just get out the vote kind of messages through different channels?
Yeah, it's pretty standard for the township to send out voter registration, voter services, links to county websites what district you're in and where you would vote. Might be, probably more important to inform people that you don't have to vote, you don't have to go and vote for a person or a party this time around. You can go and vote, and you can vote for just one thing on the ballot. And you don't have to be registered any which way, because sometimes people think, oh, I'm registered as, D or R independent, I can't vote on this, but that's not true. So I think that that's something the township will have to look into pretty soon. Or what language we'll incorporate, but it's something we do regularly anyways. So again, road signs probably a good idea, at least for register to vote. We also, I think we would like to speak with our junior supervisors, trying to push them a little and see what kind of things they can do at the high school and in the high school newspaper. Because, there's a population there of kids who would probably like to vote and, are township residents.
They're great points, Tom, and I think a couple things I actually wrote down as well. The independent thing, I think, is something that we did talk about in dates last time. And I would say, I agree with Grace, I do see lots of things with the votings, but it's kind of, I don't want to say it's cluttered, but it's in the general information, and also not a specific thing, but it does go out, always to vote, where to vote. I think it's worthwhile for this one to really push it, to kind of say like, because, from at least my opinion, from standpoint, hey, this is a major thing that is going to affect your everyday life, every single person in this township. Make sure you have a say in it, because that's really what it's all about. From my standpoint, my involvement with the group, and I share, my stance on how I may vote. At the same time, I want to hear, and I really, you ask anybody who, since I've been involved, I want to hear what people say. If I find out 80–90% of the townships are not in favor of it, okay, well, I got to sit back a little bit. My bad, I guess this is not the right thing to do, and I do feel that way, and I think that's why it's important. But my stance is to educate as much as possible, so we can get a strong opinion, and that comes down to how we educate the public and how we get that voting information out there as well. But I think that should be, and Rob, that pointed out, it really should be our primary focus. But at the same time, I'm not gonna say, oh, let's change that at the same time, so I should be, but additionally, I should say, I think letting people know, discussing this as well, what is happening is important with the information going around to make sure that it is correct information, as long as we continue to point out what our stance is and where we are as well. Timing wise, as we move on here, if anybody else has any comments, please throw it out there. But I also want to make sure I wrote down the date last time, which I might still have. Yes, I did. The May 14th and May 19th. So seeing as we're in March, we still do have another month at our next meeting to really break down the way how we could get out a message to the independent, and more importantly, those also who aren't registered, but for people know, because all of a sudden you find out, wait, I see a sign, or maybe I'm seeing some of these billboards. I want to have a say in this, and maybe opposition will pop up too. So now people want to know, they want to be educated, and we just want to make sure that you don't want to show up at the booth and not be able to. That's really just don't hurt you. Well, what do you mean? Then that's just that's not fair. It's not the way I want it as well. So I think that next month is a good opportunity to make a push for that as well.
We have to be careful, it has to be a date they have to register to vote by, for them to be able to vote, I don't know what that date is.
Last time, I have the notes from last month, and I did write right after the vote, in time to vote, which I circled, because I was on the May 4th and May 19th. Guessing they were the dates. I can just double check to make sure they weren't the next week, but I'm pretty sure that would be it. I would just Google that, but anyway. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
And I think Grace's point about independent voters, like letting them know that they're able to vote in this election, because normally can't, so.
I think that's a great point. I think the thing is that we might be able to get another month to do that as well. Well, actually, once we have our April things in May, so that kind of runs out too. You're right, we have to get both of them. Well, it's not getting me straight, folks, so. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there are dates there as well, but yeah, I think that's a great point, Terry. We definitely have to cover both of them. Any other comments on that? So,
You're correct in that May 4th is the last day of first.
It's not getting there. So May 4th would be the last time to register, our next meeting will be mid-April. I think that we should definitely take time brainstorm now, the next time we have to have an action to say, hey, these are our suggestions. And obviously, during that time, you'll have more updates as well, that what the township decides to do. Independent, and there's not registered.
Is that gonna give enough time to do whatever the strategy is going to be, like, would that be enough time? I don't know what the turnaround is, like, if we're gonna put out social, or if we're gonna push it out, like, something on the website of, hey, if you're an independent, make sure you know you can still vote, or if you're not registered, make sure you're registered by May 4th, is that enough time? If we came up with a strategy by the next meeting?
So we would be mid-April. Depends on the strategy and what kind of strategy you guys are thinking. I can certainly float the ideas out that we discussed tonight. And then by the time that we float them out to residents in our different communication forms. But if you guys have anything super specific in mind, or certain language in mind, or ideas that you would like to promote in a bipartisan way, even though this isn't really bipartisan that, then we could discuss that and run that for, you'll probably get 2.5 weeks out of it, which in terms of reaching just the township, I think would be plenty of time, you know, as long as it was something I could do in the next day.
Great question, and that's, yeah, April 15th would be our next meeting, it's 2.5 as well. I'm thinking, if there's anything now that we could add, definitely let's put it out there. What I was thinking generally is, this point I was, Grace would check the idea of, okay, well, signage, and you could say, yes, because let's use these signs and whatnot, but I don't know, 2.5 weeks would be that last push, but anybody else have any say on that?
But
Maybe worthwhile.
what are we talking about? There's, the township already has, as you said,
Well,
a normal process for just get out the vote. So, I guess the Republicans and Democrats will see that, and if they're inclined to vote, we'll vote because there's probably somebody on the ballot. The question is the independents who would not necessarily turn out because they've got nobody on the ballot, normally no reason to vote. Right, but in this case, there's a ballot question. So if we assume that the normal township get out the vote message is sufficient and is going to execute their plan, right, maybe with some a few changes, then what would we have, or what would we recommend in terms of specifically messaging the ballot question, and the fact that anybody has an opportunity to vote on the ballot question regardless of registration?
I was referring specifically to that last point about that on this election, we would have that special ballot question, what that entails, both sides, and then if you're not registered, you need to register if you want to participate.
And if you're a registered independent,
Then you can still vote, yes.
not that you can.
Well, yeah, that you can still vote, like, I didn't mean like, yes, this, but like, yes, you get a chance to vote that you normally don't.
Your vote on this question is important, even though you may not have candidates.
Mhm.
And at the stress note, and cabinets and games, we're saying too, one way we could phrase it would be, if you want to vote on this, you must be registered regardless of party. Would be just simple, so that we're trying to say, because I guess other parties too, I mean, whatever it might be, there's so many, there are many of the parties. Regardless, they
So-
they want to have a say.
So between now and next meeting, it's an opportunity, again, through our various communication channels, it's just simply go after the registered vote, right? You have this deadline, you know, no commentary in terms of what's on the ballot or question, anything, just register the vote, right?
And that goes all the way to May, so that cutoff is May 9th. You can do get out the vote all the way to the 19th.
May 4th.
Right, May 4th is the registered vote.
Yeah, I'm.
And then get out the vote, and continue after that, but there's gonna be a point where
Right.
That
we
does.
switch that up.
So.
So by May 4th, if you're gonna vote at all, you need to be registered.
You need to be registered. One
So,
step.
so in my mind, what I'm thinking about is. Are we thinking about, because of this particular situation, are we thinking about something separate for the independent vote? Because we already have the mechanisms in place for just regular get out the vote. I think in terms of signal to noise for an independent voter, it's not rising to signal because they're assuming they can't vote anyway. So are we saying that we need some way to create a signal for the independent voter to not only get out the vote, but before that, to make sure that they are registered to do so?
So we get registered messages at priority. right?
That's what I think.
And we don't have to wait till next meeting for that.
And I think in regards to what I was saying for next meeting is, I'm assuming, and I think this does, I mean, here, Facebook message would be probably out this month before next meeting to remind people. Could we put it on the signs like you said now? I think we don't have an exact answer, but Grace probably going to ask in between that if we can, yeah, let's put it up in time. Obviously, there are the things that we're going to do. What else could be added to that? Should a big message on the website be there? So things that we don't normally add. What else could we add? These are all great ideas, and I'm with you all. I think to summarize.
I think you have to keep the message simple, that's what we're trying to get, that's what it feels like there's 3 separate messages. Register, right? And get out the vote, which township already has something for that, right? And that independent, right? Even though you may not have candidates in the game, there's a question that's important. Okay? And
I think that's the one that you will likely be focused on in the April meeting, because we do also be registered to vote.
And I agree with you, that's what I'm saying, between now and our next meeting, what can go out already, just in terms of register, right? The simple message is, voter registration required by, what was it?
May 4th.
May 4th. Not, in my mind, you don't need anything else, put that on the billboard, put that on the top of your webpage, put that on, wherever. Register vote by.
Maybe.
And
We keep saying it. I don't know. I think you make a great point. The only thing I would consider as well is when people hear registered votes, it's, not everybody wants to vote. So if they, is it worth then saying for an important question in any regard? You're right, we don't want clout, but if we throw in there to have a say in the township's future, make sure you're registered to vote or something like that, just so somebody knows you don't even have to vote a candidate. And that's, to me, I think everybody should vote. However, we just want to get people in there so they can still have an opinion. That's something that someone might go, well, I could care less about who's running. Who feel that way. They might go, but I do care about that, so I'm gonna register, give me my vote. Take it away, whatever they want to do, but is that something just worth considering? I like what you're getting at. It should be simple, but that's just another thought process. And I think this is something that when we conclude this today, just pass it on to you, Grace, and I think that's what I'm saying, that's our suggestion for the month. But then come April, we can get updated on it, and anything else we want to add to it, as well, might be worthwhile. But I think as well, just what I said, Facebook, online, everything that you kind of like say do, maybe individual message soon would be appropriate, because then you can blast.
I'm thinking like a, maybe for the Facebook and Instagram, like a did you know style post, did you know that however we decide to post it, that this is a very special election because we don't have to go and vote for a candidate. Something along those lines.
Referendums are available to all voters, regardless of.
I've got a motion.
Yeah,
Like that.
every registered voter has a say in their future.
I hear you all, but you know, my input is keep it
That's
simple.
right.
Keep it simple.
And that reminds me of just a one sentence, that's why I'm trying to cram it in, but it gets too much once they say every election, they're on to the next, thing, period. It's tricky.
So I think if you're inclined not to vote, I don't, my personal opinion is you're not gonna register just a question. Okay? But there's that people out there, maybe they're just coming of age, maybe they're, you know, just moving in, I mean, you know, whatever, right? Maybe they're just getting to the point where they feel that they should be voting in general. It has to be reminded that you need to register by April.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any sense of how many people in the township know that this vote is coming up, that this was even up for vote, and do we have any sense for that?
There's been a lot, just from what we had here, but Chuck, just, you know, from my opinion, I've heard a lot of people talking, but again, that's circles that I'm in.
Mhm.
We've discussed here how, you know, Harry, you said you saw various social media things spread around. So I think people know something's happening, in my experience though, and that's where I think it's so important to stress what we're trying to do, is not many people. Majority of people I've spoken to are not updated on exactly what they're voting on. And I think that was something I just know back when it was originally conceived and discussed, even at board meetings, was a tricky situation of how it's going to get that message out there. Because it's pretty much, hey, we want everyone's opinion, but as John says, we can't cloud it. You don't want to put too much out there because you're lost on that first page. So as to how many know about it, I hope a lot. I hear a lot of talk, but I don't have a official number. Can't add that to the survey. So.
No.
Okay, great.
No, it's just something I was curious.
No, it is a great question. I mean, that I could ask everybody else that, what is your opinion or what else were you aware of it before you came here? Did you only know bits and pieces? And
I only knew bits and pieces, so,
did you know there was going to be a vote though officially?
no, I didn't know
Okay, so
that there was
that's-
a vote officially, so,
You mean the referendum?
yeah.
So I think that just says, and you know, this just says something there, somebody who is actively involved being here and not knocking you,
Yeah.
saying this things that, okay, you know, that shows us we were head deep in that, that's why it's on our head, but maybe not everybody was aware of it, so that's important.
I agree, but yeah, I think generally speaking, people know something's going on, they heard something about this event. I agree that, you know, a lot of people may not know there's an actual vote, you know, but I also think that if you start talking about the vote too soon, it's basically a time, that's the point. You need to get them sooner to when the vote actually happens. Most people are not looking, you know, voting day on their calendar, looking times specifically, it's not something that you have, that people plan for months in advance, right?
Certainly not the primary.
Right,
Off years, get us thing off year.
so I think that. Again, I feel like there's a staggered messaging, and the important one right now is get registered.
Yeah. And that's another great point, if we push for now, and you know, coming soon. The questions registered, vote, you know, how to say, whatever it could be, get that push to register, but back to what you were saying, soon, that to chat vote might be why, but again, if we always push register and vote. I don't know, I think it might be workable, I think, any other say, I kind of would want to say it, but I'm with you, I don't want to make it too big, how do we say it quickly? Important township. Vote on the line, register, vote, how to say, like too much, I don't know. Sorry for that.
I really like where Grace was going with the, did you know, like, here's a piece of information, like, here's a, you know, here's a big question mark.
Yeah.
Makes you think, makes you maybe do something, and that's easy enough to draft out and get out the door, see how it plays. You'll know how many thumbs up you get. by the end of the week.
Encourage people right on the post to share this, so you have to say, like, realistically, if you look over some elections, so 30% of people vote. So it's not a good assessment of how people truly feel, especially when it comes to something like this. These are all great points that we could, keep going on. I don't want to go on too much on the same topics, but does anybody have anything else that will start, please?
Grace, does Natural Lands Trust have any plan to do a community information
Yes.
session?
So I think that the idea was, and it's a little bit hard to say, but they certainly could do an information meeting. However, it's kind of going to, a decision to hold a meeting or not will kind of come after we have an idea of if there's going to be a big opposition. We think that there's going to be a lot of opposition, then it would be helpful to bring those people out. Or if there's a lot of maybe incorrect information going around, then yes, it would be useful to hold an information session. However, they think that it would not be beneficial to us to hold a meeting if everyone seems to be on the same page. Because then that might invite opposition. So it's a little complicated, and I'm not totally sure what they will end up doing. To be honest, so
They're
How are
probably-
we assessing,
Yeah.
how are you assessing? Is it
it's,
just,
there's no way for us to get a vote of, exactly how many people are aware. Just kind of what we hear via phone calls and via social media, and if there's a group trying to rally people together to vote no, which we haven't seen, but that's probably something that we or someone close to us would know if that was going to happen.
Harry, were you saying how are they assessing where?
I'm just trying to. So, I mean, it's obviously, if there's a dedicated opposition, that gets to be done. I'm just saying, otherwise. Just trying to figure out how we're making the assessment. It's not really the purview of this body, to be perfectly honest, it's just an interesting question to me of. Only from a communications perspective is interesting, is there going to be a communication or not? The secondary question is around, this idea that we'll have a communication if we think there's an opposition. Which then leads to the question of, well, if there's not an organized group, how do we know kind of what the opposition is to determine whether or not you should have just a factual session, not pro or con, just this is what the issue is. So that was sort of where I was going with all of that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think bringing up natural lens is a good point. Anything else, I heard somebody else start to talk there, but please chime in. I think one thing I would just say with natural lens is, another perspective is that I know there are meetings, and even outside of the meeting, the township could say, just because they have done this before, anything that we say, okay, how did you target people to get the vote out there prior, anything that they would add. And not even necessarily have to bring it back to us, because they didn't bring it back to us, we'll just be like, okay, if they said it, I'm going for that. I imagine everybody else would say, hey, this works. That if something the township could say, hey, here's something else, and they give you something that you can apply or start as well. I'm not sure. I think that's another thing that we do with natural lands, just with their experience. Obviously, any meetings, you would let us know as well.
Will the township put the wording of the referendum in any of our communication outlets before the vote?
It is on our website, the referendum and the ballot language. On the front page of the website, there's the front banner says something along the lines of saving the Alabama property, click here to learn more, and then that's where you can find the FAQ, the ballot language, the presentations by Natural Lands. People are having a hard time figuring out how to share that in a way that sounds natural and in a way that doesn't sound like we're trying to push a certain result. So again, it's something definitely that the township staff has to think about. In terms of those boundaries that are not supposed to.
One thing I just realized is May 3rd is going to be the next market, as you said as well. Is it possible that at the tables we could have registered vote forms? Clearly they'd have to get in the next day. I don't know if the township need a volunteer, from us or anybody else. We would drop it off at the township or at county, I guess, would have to do that day. Because we need to like, what's it?
You can register.
Yes, QR codes as well, so that's easier, you're correct, so too, I think it might be worthwhile to have a QR code registered to vote then, see easier. And, I'm guessing maybe some of us will be there too, as we discussed, but as people are there, encourage them to do it, make sure they follow through. Don't know, and it's people's practice, but I'm not sure if that timing, if somebody would be still register vote by mail, so that's something that we have to emphasize and have to vote as well. I'm not sure early this time, I some fancy, but having that right there, I think it's worthwhile. I know there's no forum, someone needs to emphasize it's easier. They vote online. Great point there. Great point of financial events as well. Any other questions? This is this is something that's fascinating as it develops and where we stand on it. It's curious where it's going, so appreciate everyone's inputs on that. Again, if anybody would like to help out, the other thing, feel free to touch base with me afterwards, and that's all that's saying. That's all. Anything else to add to this? Very good. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the next meeting. Honestly, just to hear where we stand with this. It's hard to see how many people they spend, how many people be aware, how many more. If we put it on signs in between it, let's go. That's my take. I think everyone's kind of on board with this, and maybe we can get the word out. Very good. Moving on, any other new business? We didn't have as much tonight. We did cover a lot, covered a lot of hours worth here. Covered a lot around. I think we got some check to. It was a shorter month. I know next month will be more active. I think a lot more of an idea. Surveys for example that. Now, we definitely talked about the upcoming meeting. I think we want to suggest that things early on in the process was meetings enthusiastic to help out. At the event, so if somebody want to do that as well, and discuss that. Of course, where we stand on updating people how to vote. And if we have any other topics that come up now or in between there, I think it's always worth checking back on our list of things we might want to look at, something that we can circulate around this time. I think it's worthwhile, especially as we have new members. We'll do that list that we put together really after we've been around for about a year. So, okay, we talked about a lot of great things, brainstorming, we got distracted, worked on resident request portal, got distracted on the website, good things. But it's worthwhile to have that list. And recently, kind of ranking it on things that could be more of a priority as well. We have our meetings, so we kind of focus on one thing to get a little carried away. Very good. Anything else?
Future topic is, but seems like every time we have somebody new here or somebody we can ask questions about, there's always an element of they didn't know about the constant contact, or they didn't know about the Montgomery County, text messaging, or they didn't know. And so I feel like we need to look at how to increase people's usage of all the channels that we have available. Somebody can shut down the base, the road signs, and can't afford those. And don't need to sign up for those.
Right.
But these other ones, they're great sources of information. And it always surprises me that people don't know about them. I mean, we're kind of a know about them, but haven't, signed up. So I think it's worthwhile conversation to how can we make it as easy as possible, as close to push button as possible for them to just sign up for these things. Not have to go through a lot of screens, you pick a lot of things, right? But there's some kind of default configuration that all you have to do is just say, yes, I want this, I mean, you're at least in with the basics, right? But it's, we've got great ways of communication, and people just think that I think it's worthwhile.
And I think the survey, once we do survey, get three thoughts, that's gonna tell us a lot too.
No, I think, that was the only comment I was gonna add to that, but yeah, both make great points with that, but at the same time, you were listening to with those surveys. Yeah, you make great point, yeah, almost every time I read the minutes of that, we hear, and I saw the minutes, text messaging, which. A lot of people, so maybe we're missing something, I think it's worthwhile. Maybe Saturday night, next time, other ways we can discuss what we can do as a committee to do that, because really, as you emphasized, John, that solves so much information, and really one of the basis of this committee when we can. Little things like the resources that we have. Discounted tickets and stuff like that, people will say, wow, and it's just getting people, the traffic here to let people know what we have. Great going to. Anything else, that kind of find this with our final call for public discussion, visitor comments as well. But if anybody would like to add anything else, I think it's been a pretty solid meeting here. Anybody have anything else to add? Very good, I did check, our next meeting will be April 15th, 2.5 weeks before the last day of registered to vote, which is May 4th. And, yeah, hopefully we,
2026.
2026. He's relatively close. All right. Move to adjourn. With that, then we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Grace, thank you for your time as well on the art days. Really appreciate everybody's involvement. And see you all on April 5th.